All right, looks like we're starting up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the awesomeo.com live before lock show. We'll be discussing today's MLB slate, and that's all we have to talk about. But that's the most important thing in the world for all of us right now. I'm Chris Spags, joined by the baseball savant himself, Mr. Jake Hari. How's it going, Jake?
It's going well. It's weird doing 3 live streams in a row, so kind of getting a taste of your medicine here. But yeah, it's good. I feel pretty good about this slate. You know, there's some decent pitching options and some guys that I'm excited about. So, yeah.
All right, and hello, chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you're not subscribed to the channel, which most of you are, but if you're not subscribed, like the video. That stuff does help us out on here. It's like tipping us if we were your bartender, but instead we're just guys on the screen who yell things to and occasionally at you. So, but yeah, like and subscribe. If you're a premium member of Awesemo, we do have an article up from the man himself. He's going to be joining us on the live stream, I think on Friday again, just because I don't want to give Jake and myself too much to handle while we're adjusting to our daily live stream lives. But Awesemo does have an article up today if you're a premium member, breaking down his likelihood of each pitcher performing the best with a percentage chance of each guy and how they're going to be the top pitcher on the slate. So go check that out. But hey, in honor of that, Jake, let's talk pitchers up front. What are we doing at pitcher? There's some interesting guys who are projected to be the highest owned ones tonight. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so, I mean, I like Bumgarner a little bit, but I mean, at the ownership we have him being the second highest projected pitcher, and then Ray first. I don't understand Ray being mega chalk or even chalky at all, because I think he's only going to throw like 85 pitches maybe, and he's not very efficient to start with. And yeah, he can strike out a bunch of guys, and I'll have some Ray, but was not expecting to see his ownership jump throughout the day. And then Bumgarner is not missing enough bats, but I just got a guy message me on Facebook about GPP pitchers I just saw right now.
Doesn't he know you're busy on a live stream? He's like, oh, well, it's not Jake's usual day, so
I guess not. What was Bumgarner, he's not missing enough bats, and I kind of like some of the Colorado bats against him. Arenado, Story, and then Desmond if he finds his way into the lineup. So that leaves us with like Gibson, Wood, Flaherty, Bieber, and I like some of those. I like Gibson a lot. I like Bieber a lot. Nothing's really changed for me since this morning. And then the Cubs have just been so bad against lefties on the road. So I have a little bit of interest in Alex Wood, but he's also going to be very chalky. And I don't see why the Cubs should be bad against lefties just because they're on the road. So I don't know, man. Bieber and Gibson are my two favorites, and then after that, it's not that fun. I mean, Wheeler's going to be very heavily owned, but I mean, I get it, but yeah, I just don't know where to go after those two.
Yeah, I'm with you on Bieber. I think Bieber looks good again today. I mean, he's still obviously a very small sample size pitcher, so wouldn't shock me if he regressed a little and maybe had, especially against lefties. I feel like his splits so far, that's the one spot that worries me a tiny bit, is that lefties have been hitting him pretty hard. And let me pull that up. Let's see. Yeah, lefties have been hitting him hard, and also like his xFIP is substantially higher from the against left side of the plate guys. His whip is substantially higher, 1.69 versus 0.91 versus righties. So that would be my one concern, and I think the Cardinals tried to get some lefty bats in there to help out, but that doesn't worry me too much. There's only 3 bats who are lefty on the Cardinals side. I think Bieber would be okay even despite that. I have a lot of Ray. I think he just works salary-wise, so I think that, I mean, I'm going to assume that's why everybody is there. I also didn't like Wheeler that much, and I was really surprised that he's been so chalky. Like, we have him being projected as the, I think, number 2 overall pitcher, possibly, no, number 3 now. I would rather pay up for Ray and, you know, I don't know, be safer than going with Wheeler, because I just think Wheeler is actually not that great of a matchup versus Pittsburgh. Also, you know, some weather there too. I don't know. But Wheeler's been much worse versus lefties. Some decent lefty bats in that Pittsburgh lineup. Wheeler worries me. I don't get Zach Wheeler being a chalk option.
Well, yeah, Wheeler's chalk worries me. I mean, if he were going to be this price and like 10% owned or something, then I'd say, yeah, I like Wheeler a ton, but he's had some blow-up starts, and there are a lot of lefties that hit righties well. So Meadows and Bell and Moran, Dickerson, all guys that I'm targeting against Wheeler in the lineups that I don't play Wheeler. I'm probably going to come in somewhere near the field with Wheeler just because I'm prioritizing bats tonight when I'm not playing Bieber and Gibson. And then, yeah, I don't get. Do you get the Ray thing? Like, do people just not know he's not going to throw?
It's just the strikeout rate. I mean, that he can possibly burn through those guys, and I think, do enough damage in 85 pitches that some of these other guys are going to maybe not be able to do it 100. I think would be the upside there. He does get hit hard, though. I mean, by both sides of the plate. He's a high variance pitcher. I think, you see the K per 9 numbers. He's like probably the best pitcher on the slate, I think, besides Bieber in terms of that. So I think that's what people are looking for. They're seeing the strikeouts, seeing a low whip, seeing pretty decent xFIP numbers. The hard contact does worry me a little, and obviously the pitch count, but also a low team total. I think that's one of the lowest on the day as well. So I think there are reasons to go to Ray, and I definitely went there a lot. I do worry a little bit now that he's the top projected pitcher on the slate. Kind of worries me a little bit.
Yeah, the hard contact scares me, and I like Castro and Anderson. I would have liked Real Muto if he was in, but I think Brinson's fine batting cleanup for 3K as well. When Ray gets hit, it is hard a lot of the time. So I wouldn't mind taking some leverage bats against him. Anderson being my favorite, then Castro, then Brinson. But that's more as like fillers than anything. Maybe a mini stack here and there, but it is a pretty bad lineup that Ray gets to face. And he could strike out 7 or 8 guys in like 4 or 5 innings. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he did that.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm targeting there. I mean, I do have a couple of Marlin stacks just because, I figured Ray would end up chalky. I didn't realize he would be as chalky as we're projecting right now. But I mean, I think some of those bats on there, Castro, Anderson, Dietrich being in the lineup, I don't mind filling in for Real Muto. I also think Yadiel Rivera is probably going to go under the radar, but his on-base percentage has been really good so far, over 400 getting on base versus a lefty. So I think that there are a couple guys to use there if you are going to use them as a leverage play. I still just think that Ray is an okay play. It's like Kenny Powers, I think. Like that's actually what Kenny Powers would be if he were a professional pitcher. Just strikeouts and home runs. Very little in between.
Let's see what chat's saying here.
Kevin Zoe is asking if you should prioritize bats tonight or go high-low. Jake, I think you said you were paying up for bats more. I definitely paid a little more for pitching today, and then kind of went. I feel like stacks came really easily at affordable prices today.
Yeah. So since I like the mid-tier, then I'm prioritizing bats in my crunch so that those guys will just fill in with the mid-tier guys that I like Gibson, Bieber, some Wheeler. And then I don't get as much like Ray and Bumgarner, because I like Goldschmidt, Matt Olson, John Ryan Murphy, going down my list, Muncy, Beltre, Jed Lowry, Chris Davis. So I like a lot of the expensive guys, Nimmo, Machado. So I just want as many big bats as possible when I don't feel great about the pitching up top.
Let's see. Somebody asked a question. Oh, thoughts on Wood tonight? Alex Wood is a guy who Alex mentioned in his article. Again, if you're a premium member, check it out. You can see every pitcher on the slate's likelihood of being the top scoring pitcher. Become a premium member. But yeah, Alex mentioned Alex Wood, and thought that he was a pretty good pivot for some of the expensive guys. Are you going with any? Do you have Wood tonight, Jake?
I have some Wood tonight. He's good at getting ground balls. He's not someone I usually play, but I can't get all of my exposure to Bieber and Gibson in that price range, so I'll have a little bit of Wood probably paired with each of those guys. And then, I mean, the Cubs are just so bad on the road against the lefty. I'll read these numbers. Let me find them quick. 70 WRC plus on the road against lefties, 25% K rate, ISO under 100. It doesn't really add up, and it's probably too small of a sample to make a distinction of whether or not that's real, but still pretty alarming this deep into the season.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Somebody asked about Ivan Nova, and I will not not talk about Ivan Nova after I completely just blew him off on the Friday slate, the Friday 1 hour show that I did alone. I think I tipped off one guy. I was like, Minor over Ivan Nova. And Minor was okay, but Ivan Nova had like 31 points or something and was amazing. And I think he's been good over his last 3 starts. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's what I saw this morning. Do you have any Nova tonight? Do you see the upside there or interest?
Yeah, I don't have Nova tonight. There's just, like, I'm scared of Nimmo and Cabrera and Conforto, so that's the main reason why. And I just like other guys around his price, so no Nova.
So I mean, I guess if you are a Nova believer, that would be a reason to roster Nova. But you know, it to me, I still don't see it for Nova. I do see why he would do better versus a righty lineup. His whip versus righties is substantially better. But again, the lefty bats on the Mets are where it'll get you. So I think Nova would not be a play for me. Steve Schuster, sorry about that, buddy. I knew it was one of you guys in the chat. I do recognize you, so I apologize. But I'm glad you stuck with us. It's tough, man. It's like I still think Mike Minor looks like a better play than Nova, including tonight. But it wouldn't surprise me if Nova did better. It's just I think his sample size isn't big enough of being good. I think it's still mostly weighted down by him being Ivan Nova mostly, I think.
Yeah, someone was asking about Eflin. I like that there's no Stanton in that lineup. You mentioned pitcher's ump. That doesn't matter to me too much, but it is a little bit of a bump. And
you mean no Judge?
Oh yeah, no Judge. Yeah. So just one more power bat you're gonna have to, or one less power bat you're gonna have to worry about. And then there are a decent amount of righties. Gets the pitcher spot. I have a handful of Eflin. He was popping, so I had to like limit my exposure to him because I was getting way too much. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I should just let it run because I don't think many people are talking about him. We don't have him being very popular, and I think he's a fine GPP play.
I have a couple lineups with Eflin just because he worked price-wise, and I think I wanted to get off whatever guys were near him in a couple of lineups. So I actually don't mind Eflin. It's still not a guy I would play a ton of, but you know, I'm max under 20 entry, and I felt like having 2 or 3 Eflins in there, sure, why not? Somebody's asking about Wade LeBlanc. Actually, I don't mind Wade LeBlanc. I think there may be some weather concerns. Actually, let's talk weather first before we get into that. Jake, do we have any actual weather concerns? I think we have a couple of potentially bad games, but nothing jumping out as, I don't know, super awful.
I think the Detroit game's fine. The Mets game is probably going to late start, and that's the one, obviously, with Wheeler in it. So that's a little bit concerning for me. I'll be keeping an eye on that Mets weather. But I don't think any game is going to get postponed. I don't see any game being postponed from what I looked at earlier.
Okay. So, yeah, I think I didn't see anything that was super worrisome. I think I saw something like the Baltimore game might have the worst kind of heavy rain, but I'm still playing a couple of Orioles lineups. It did get me off of making a Mariners stack tonight just because I felt like I already had so much Orioles. The Orioles team total is stupid high. like 4.8 runs for the Orioles seems baffling to me. I don't see it. I actually don't mind Wade LeBlanc. I did play a couple Orioles stacks just because, Vegas knows better than all of us for a reason. But what do you think about the Orioles? What do you think about Wade LeBlanc?
I don't like the Orioles, and that kind of drew me to LeBlanc a little bit. I've got some of him, and it's mostly just because the Orioles are so bad. LeBlanc he gets a decent amount of chases, and just to differentiate a little bit, I don't think LeBlanc has huge upside here, but certainly could just be solid and get you 16 or 17 DK points. I think that's pretty reasonable in this spot.
Yeah, I think that there's some logic in going there. I mean, Baltimore, in general, as a team, just doesn't get on base versus lefties. WRC Plus is one of the worst on the slate versus lefties. They have some power, and on the other side, who could hit a home run tonight, and it wouldn't surprise me, given that LeBlanc is surprisingly worse versus lefties than he is versus righties in a lot of categories. Chris Davis, it might be the night. Everybody's waiting for a Chris Davis night. I don't know, like that total and Chris Davis hype make me feel like maybe that is something interesting, but I do like LeBlanc a little more than I like Baltimore, I think. But the team total just baffles me. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it is high for a bad team. Not much respect for LeBlanc. I don't know how the Mariners' bullpen is, but wind blowing out in 80 degrees it probably has something to do with that. Humid as well.
Interesting. Oh yeah, people pointing out Matt Kemp is out because he was suspended, I guess, for whatever altercation a couple games back. So I don't know who's replacing him. I guess Logan Forsythe is in the lineup instead. So adjust your Dodgers lineups accordingly. How about Kyle Hendricks? Somebody's asking. Who looks a little better with Kemp out, I would presume.
I don't know. It doesn't change much for me. I think Hendricks he's just so average to me that I rarely try to get him in. I mean, if you end up with Kyle Hendricks at 7,400, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Like, I think he's got a decent chance to get you double digits or get you 12 points or something. But he's never someone I'm saying is like a huge upside play, and that's my problem with him. I think there are guys with a lot of upside around him, so not a guy I'm going to have really any of.
Yeah, I have no problem playing Hendricks on like a shorter slate where he's, kind of the safe guy who was going to give you, 15 to 25 depending upon how things break. And today I don't see it kind of being the case. Like he could have an okay game, but I'd rather go, same like you said, I'd rather go with guys with more upside and pay up in a couple different directions or down, I guess, depending. Somebody asking if Sessa for the Yankees is a pivot for Wheeler. I don't see that. I don't think he's not going to get enough pitches. And I actually kind of like the Philly stack as an under-the-radar place to look tonight.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about the Philly stack and why I'm not stacking them is because that Yankees bullpen is so good. They just seem to strike everyone out, and that's what I'm worried about. So I'm going to pass on the Philly stack, but I like Carlos Santana. I don't mind Altherr as a punt for 3K.
Yeah, I mean, Sessa, I think it's been mostly relief duty for him, but he's versus righties, his whip is 1.77 versus 1 for lefties. His xFIP jumps to 6.61 versus 3.65 versus lefties. So I think you could stack some of those righties. For me, I have a couple, I think, with like Hoskins, Santana, Altherr. I think I have Franco instead of Kingery. And Jorge Alfaro I like as a potential kind of cheap catcher guy. We can talk about my other catcher of the night in a second, but I think he's an interesting play. My catcher of the night, John Ryan Murphy. I like that opportunity a lot there for that Arizona side. How are you feeling about the D-backs?
Yeah, I love the D-backs against Wei and Chen. Anytime Chen's on the mound, I'm ready to stack against him. He just gives up so many home runs to righties, a lot of hard contact. I think it's 647 xFIP is what he has. I don't have the note in front of me, but very bad against righties. And then you've got Goldschmidt in there and J.R. Murphy, who I love as well. Possible home run pick. And then I like Ketel Marte down in the lineup at 6th.
Murphy is also my potential home run pick.
Yeah, I thought so. So I'm not going to steal that from you.
Yeah, his hard contact rate versus lefties, 55% almost, 54.8. That's a big number there. He'll strike out a little. Actually, no, he won't even strike out. He's striking out only 18.2% of the time. Yeah, Murphy getting a couple cracks at Wei and Chen, really interesting to me. But like you said, Goldschmidt, I think Nick Ahmed also grades out pretty well. I don't mind Ketel Marte tonight. And some of these other righties, not that great. But if you want to go in Owings or Marrero, they are righties, and Chen is much worse versus righties, as Jake said, like substantially worse.
Yeah.
Surprising, actually, that Chen's not like that bad versus lefties, which I didn't realize.
No, he's pretty good against lefties. He's just huge splits.
Yeah, so I would avoid the Robbie Ray John Jay and Peralta part of that. But I think that, the Diamondback stack tonight is pretty interesting to me. People are asking about San Diego, Texas. I think San Diego is projected to be a pretty high-owned stack tonight. At least some of the parts of it are. What are you thinking about that game?
Yeah, I mean, super good hitting weather. 93 degrees. It's just so hot in Texas all the time, it seems like. 2 lefties on the mound, lots of righties on both sides. Did they say just the game in general are we talking about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we didn't really talk about the pitchers either, but yeah, talk about every part of it.
Yeah. The pitchers I'm not interested in either one. Both struggle with hard contact against righties, and so I like Renfroe, Will Myers, Villanueva for 4K. And then on the Texas side, I don't know that I'm trying to full stack them that much, but Profar looks great to me. Adrian Beltre looks great to me, and then Elvis Andrus looks great to me as well.
Yeah, I think it's tough to make a great Texas stack work for you just because of how they're kind of laid out. Yeah, I don't mind that. And I agree that the Padres look a little better to me. Villanueva in particular, I think is pretty interesting. He's just his splits are much better, and I think versus like Mike Minor, he should be able to get some shots at doing something. I think with the hard contact that he gives up. So I don't mind that stack at all. I agree. Renfroe, Villanueva all look good. I don't mind Margot either. Any of the righties there, I'm pretty okay with.
Me too. Yep.
Let's see. Are the Twins going to be popular tonight? What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have them as being pretty popular. We did this morning. No Logan Morrison in that lineup, so that makes it easier for me because I hate playing Logan Morrison, at least this year. Last year I played him a ton. But I like Eduardo Escobar. I like Eddie Rosario, so the expensive parts. And then Jake Cave is fine for me. Kepler is fine for me. But the full stack against Shields will be pretty popular. Right? Are you pulling the ownership up right now?
Yeah, I mean, so it's pretty high up there. I mean, I think it's probably going to be one of the higher owned stacks. I would say it looks like the Padres will probably be a little higher, at least in terms of overall numbers, and maybe part of Texas too. Yeah, I think Texas probably a little higher. The Minnesota is going to be one of the higher owned ones. I don't mind it. I think people, though, are still kind of in the mindset of you always have to target James Shields, and I don't know that you have to target James Shields quite as much this year. He's been up and down. He's gotten rocked a few times, but I don't hate him. I mean, I'm not playing him or anything, but I don't hate him to the degree where I feel like I have to have a ton of Twins.
I agree. That's like, I echo that 100%. You don't have to target him.
Any love for Bieber tonight? I guess we'll talk about Bieber again. I assume Bieber is going to be popular. Popular question today. I like Bieber a lot. I don't see a ton of risk there besides some of the lefty bats. Jake, do you want to give us your Bieber take one more?
Yeah, Bieber looks very, very good to me. The swinging strikes aren't great, but in his last start, 18.6% swinging strike rate, which is awesome. Struck out 9, I believe, in 7 innings, and he's going to get, how many righties are in here? 4 righties, pitcher spot, and then 2 of the lefties are Greg Garcia, Colton Wong. So I don't see a lot of power in this, or lefty power in this Cardinals lineup, which I would be scared of for Bieber's sake, but the middle of that lineup, just a bunch of righties in a row. It seems like he can get into a rhythm, striking guys out, going pretty deep. It's concerning that they just touched up Corey Kluber last night, these Cardinals, but I'm going back with the Cleveland pitcher. I like Bieber a lot.
Yeah, that had to be the lowest owned, 45 points for Matt Carpenter in the history of DFS.
Yeah.
It's unreal. Apparently, Moto Blinders is raving about Bieber. You know who else you're raving about? The Angels. It was great versus the Angels. David Price, like I said on this stream. So fuck you, Moto Blinders. 1-0 me.
Man, so harsh, so harsh.
I don't know. I feel like, hey, if they're touting it, maybe you got to go the other way. I feel like their touts probably have a little more effect on ownership than ours do. But one day we'll be able to ruin slates with our touting. People talking about Detroit right now, I think they're an interesting play. Jake, how do you feel about Detroit?
Yeah, I like Detroit against Bassett. Bassett's not a guy that's going to miss any bats. I'm keying in on Leonis Martin once again, Goodrum, Candelario, and Castellanos. So it's hard for me to get to a full stack, especially with the bottom of that lineup looking the way it looks. But I do like Detroit, those 4 in particular.
See, I don't mind the full stack. I think I have one of them with a Candelario, Castellanos, Martinez, Goodrum, Hicks one. Actually skipping over Martin Martin rather. Bassett much better versus lefties so far, and like hard contact, 44% versus righties versus 34.8 versus lefties. Not that that's bad or anything, but then the whip is where he really jumps down, where his whip is actually one of the better on the slate overall, just 0.91 versus lefties, whereas versus righties he's given up 1.38. So I think you're getting a little more value there with that run in the middle of the lineup, and Hicks is a known, I think somebody actually said in the chat earlier, he's a lefty masher. So I think that there is an interesting little spot there, and their run totals in that 4.5 is kind of in between the higher level ones and the lower level ones. So I think that could be a bit of an outlier kind of performance tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bassett's got a pretty small sample size, but
he does.
I mean, I think any bats are fine against Bassett, honestly. But the bottom of that lineup is not very good.
Thoughts on Yankees bets tonight? Obviously, again, Judge is out, so that's one less guy. Would you stack the Yankees at all going against Eflin?
I would not be on the full stack. I think you can cherry pick a couple guys, Gregorius, Hicks, and Stanton, but I'm not going out of my way to target against Eflin.
I don't mind the stack there. I definitely didn't go to it or anything, but the top 5 doesn't look terrible to me. I don't think Eflin is like amazing or anything. And, the Yankees have been a little underowned. I feel like people are just kind of getting bored of playing the Yankees or don't want to afford them, however, or something like that. But we talked about it on yesterday's stream, and the Yankees ended up starting off pretty hot. So I don't know. I think the Yankees are a little undervalued in the marketplace right now.
Hicks is on fire. That guy.
Mm-hmm.
He looks amazing right now.
I think Hicks is an interesting play. But not the best catcher. That is John Ryan Murphy, the big dog. I don't know if he's the big dog.
That's true.
I don't know if he deserves that nickname yet. Need a cheap catcher for DK GPP. Would you go with Kyle Higashioka or Josh Phegley? Or someone else 2,900 and under?
2,900 and under. Let's see.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know who that was offhand.
So that's the Yankees catcher.
Yeah.
Who's the other one? Phegley?
Phegley for the...
I'd probably go Phegley against Fires.
Yeah, I guess I would go Phegley. I don't know. Like, Higashioka looks not great in a very small sample size, but I guess if you're really trying to save money, then sure. But I'd rather pay up for Murphy. I'd rather pay up a little more for Alfaro. I think Alfaro. I don't know what Alfaro's price is offhand, but let's see. Alfaro is Alfaro actually 2.8. There we go. Go with Jorge Alfaro.
There we go.
Thoughts on the Pirates? I like the Pirates a lot. I think all of Polanco, Meadows, Dickerson all look good. Dickerson's probably my favorite play on that side, if you're going to one-off him. But how about the Pirate stack for you, Jake?
Pirate stack is good in that it's a leverage stack. I don't think it's one of my favorites, but just from an ownership standpoint, when you've got Wheeler being so heavily owned, it makes sense to, if you're multi-entering, have some lineups against him. I don't love hedge stacking in general, especially with limited lineups, but if you're like you're rolling out 150 in the quarter arcade or something, and you've got a bunch of Wheeler, I think that stacking up some Pirates lefties is a pretty good strategy on some other lineups.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do like a good hedge stack, especially when it's with a guy like Wheeler who's going to be so highly owned and has been a little volatile in the past. I mean, I think his splits for this year, I don't have them in front of me, but I assume his splits for this year are much better. I think also Alex mentioned that in his article. But I don't know. I don't like Wheeler. I don't want to play Wheeler today. It's just not happening for me, and I do like the Pirate stack a little bit. I agree with Jake, the lefties, and I also don't mind Josh Harrison to complete that stack as well. Let's see. Any love for Gorky's? Should bat leadoff and has a decent BVP. We don't look at BVP much here, XTJ 104. But Jake, what do you think about the Giants in general?
The Giants are... I don't like stacking against Freeland. I think McCutcheon's fine. I think Posey's fine. But everyone else is kind of just a stay away. I actually have some interest in Freeland pitching in that park against what looks like not a great Giants lineup.
Yeah, I don't have many. I don't think I have any Giants actually. I did play the late slate last night because I was just bored, and Gorky's hit a home run yesterday, which I was pretty pleased with. But yeah, I'm with you. I didn't play Freeland either, but I could see why you would think that might be a good play. Especially those some lefty bats in there. He can get strikeouts pretty effectively versus those guys.
Yeah.
So I think that I see where you're going with it. I think I'd be more inclined to probably play Freeland instead of the Giants, okay. But I don't really feel strongly about either.
So the thing about Gorky's too with the BVP is that Freeland pitches in Coors half the time. This is like the exact opposite of Coors in terms of park factors. This is the worst park for hitting, whereas Coors, Gorky's could have hit 3 home runs off Freeland and Coors. It's a completely different ball game in this park.
Sure, yeah. Another reason to not use BVP. There are a great many, including the fact that just looking at it, the overall numbers are a better indicator of future success. But yeah, right. What Jake mentioned with park factors is a big reason too to not use BVP, and it just doesn't make sense. Gibson has been looking impressive, but don't think he's an $8,500 pitcher. I agree with Greek Ink. I don't, even though Greek Ink very wrong about a certain Frankie Montas yesterday. And we remember your touts too, guys, in case you haven't realized that. In fact, we discussed that one on Slack for a second after the slate started and had a good laugh because Frankie Montas got his ass rocked.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a fair comment. I don't think that Gibson is like the greatest pitcher in the world, but I think if you're looking at the slate and you've got Bumgarner overpriced, you've got Ray overpriced, in my opinion, Flaherty's overpriced, everyone's kind of inflated because there isn't like a true stud number one pitcher, especially with Ray not being able to go very long in this game, presumably. So that's kind of, I don't know. I don't think pitching or pricing for pitching matters that much today because you can find value bats and fit in whichever pitchers you want to with mostly every stack.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Gibson's
I
good
also
too.
think that's a good point about the lack of like a true stud. Like even Bumgarner, I mean, people are treating him like he's an elite player still, and he might be, but I don't think we've seen enough of it yet since coming back from injury. And one game versus the Padres probably shouldn't get him as much ownership as he has. Also, Greek Ink, by the way, don't take offense. I just remember that one because that was one that Jake and I really were pleased we were not wrong about. Let's we really stuck our flag in the ground of Frankie Montas not being good, and we rarely fully agree, but that was one we were 100% on. Any weather concerns for postponements tonight?
I don't see any, and I guess the weathermen are saying sort of the same thing. There could be some potential for late starts. I know that people want to play Wheeler, so that could be a concern. But it looks like it's just going to be a late start, and it's going to be okay to play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sticking with my guys. Obviously, I didn't play Wheeler, but I do have the Pittsburgh Sox. I'm not touching them. I'm just riding out. I think, especially yesterday, like that Indians game, I presumed would not have played at all. And then it played and was the most important game on the slate where, I mean, if you had like Martinez and Carpenter, you would have absolutely won the night walking away. So not the best. And I actually had a great score. I had like a 180 last night. I was feeling real good. I had a Brewer stack and they went nuts. And then just ended up losing it because of Baez and Martinez and Carpenter. But I don't know. I'm not letting weather mess with me tonight. I'm sure watch all these games get canceled and just not even be replayed ever. They're just going to be like, yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah, that just goes to show, like, in MLB DFS, it's such an event-based sport where you can be sitting pretty at the top of the leaderboard at whatever 10 Eastern, and then all of a sudden you're got like a guy with a stack behind you has 2 straight home runs, and then you're just buried by 50 other lineups. I can't tell you how many times it's happened. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good night, and then it just ends up breaking even or whatever because a late stack goes off.
Yep. That was my lovely last night, but hey, the Brewers showed up, and that was really what mattered. That was a fun stack to have. They really were piling it up for a minute there. How about Oakland? We didn't talk much about. We talked a little bit about them in passing, but I guess they do have one of the higher team totals. Going against Mike Fiers is not really a pitcher we respect a ton here on this stream. How do you feel about Oakland, and how much Oakland do you have?
Oh yeah, I love Oakland. I've got a bunch of specifically Lowry, Olsen, and Davis. Fly ball Mike Fiers in this weather, wind blowing out, humid, 80 degrees almost. Yeah, give me all the Oakland. Fowler leading off is a nice value. Joyce batting second is a nice value. A lot to like for this Oakland team.
And, of course, Jake actually did pick an Oakland player to hit a home run last night and was correct as Chad Pinder came through. Home run picks has been – I feel like it's just that you had more at-bats this week. This actually might be proof of just DFS strategy in general. You did 3 live streams, and then all of a sudden you got your first home run pick in a while.
I know. I felt like I'd just
got to get up on the plate, get some swings.
Huge dry spell for me there for a while, but we're back now.
You got in the cage, got some cuts with the Monday to Wednesday stream, so
exactly.
Kudos to Jake for getting that right. Freddie Freeman did not do it again. Had an okay day, but did not do it again. But yeah, anyway, with Oakland, I'm with you. I think the 1 to 5 looks good. Also don't mind Piscotty. I think you can go down the order, honestly, if you want to stack them in different ways. So Fegley I actually don't like a ton, but besides that, I mean, obviously, if all those bats do well, Fegley will probably have a good shot at doing well anyway. So I'm with it. I agree. I also like that you called Mike Fiers fly ball Mike Fiers. That's a fun nickname.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I coined that phrase, but if someone doesn't want to take credit, I will take credit for it. I'm not above that. I'm not above that.
You are the baseball savants, and we just stole that name from MLB themselves and bequeathed it onto you.
Exactly.
Let's see. People asking about Sessa again. How do you feel about Sessa?
I just don't think he's going to throw enough pitches for it to be worth the price. I mean, the matchup is good in theory against the Phillies, but it says unspecified pitch count. I heard 70 somewhere. I mean, I don't want to mess with it, especially you got a little bit of weather concerns there. Nothing crazy, but they've just got such a good bullpen that they can throw in an arm if he gets into trouble in the 4th inning, and then you're done at 7 points or whatever. So he's got to be perfect in a short time for it to be worth it, and I'm not taking that risk.
Yeah, then they have shown that within just the past week with Lasagna, where they were like, "Hey, we don't need you getting rocked any more than you were that one day." So yeah, Jake's point is pretty valid. They do have a deep bullpen, and that is a guy who's not expected to go deep anyway. So that's a pretty good reason to not go there. Let's do home run picks. We'll get to your guys' questions more in a second. We should get it out there now. Jake, you're on the hot streak, so you're going first.
Yeah, it's gonna be Matt Olson. He's dying tonight. Like, I just don't see how he doesn't. Fly ball Mike fires in this weather. Olson, if he gets a hold of one, it is going a long way. And fires will serve it up. So that's my guy.
All right. That's interesting. You're sticking with the A's again. I like that. So your boys paid off. Mm-hmm. I'm going with the guy that we both kind of frothed over before. I'm going with J.R. Murphy, Mr. John Ryan Murphy, just slugging hard, getting a shot at Wei and Chen. I'm not worried about the park. I don't even know. Maybe have the roof open again. I feel like that could be helpful. Yeah, I'm all right with John Ryan Murphy as a player, as a one-off, and as a home run pick.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal pick. I love Murphy. I think he's my highest exposure catcher tonight, and I feel great about that.
Yeah, also mine. So big John Ryan Murphy guys on the stream. I like when we both are into random dudes who not a lot of people are on. Our ownership, at least before, was not super high. I don't know if it went up. Actually, let's see. John Ryan. Don't know. Sorry, hold on one sec. I don't know if we have him as J.R. Murphy or something else. Okay, we have him at 12%, so not unowned, but still probably less owned than some other catchers. So John Ryan Murphy, the dude. Is Robbie Ray on a pitch count? Yes, he's supposed to be on a pitch count similar to Shelby Miller's, which was around 85. So that's my guess.
Did you see that somewhere? Or
yeah, I saw a note somewhere from that. I think it was actually an article I read because I Googled it. AZ Central, I think, mentioned it in one of their kind of roundup articles.
Cool. Because he's not efficient. Like, if he was an efficient pitcher, I don't even have an example. I don't want to give an example just off the top of my head, but like, let's say he was Kluber and he was on an 85 pitch count price tier against the Marlins. I mean, I would be all over him, even at an 85 pitch count, just because he can be so efficient and get strikeouts. But Ray, not that pitcher, and really struggles with the hard contact. So all those things together, I will be underweight on Robbie Ray.
I won't be, but I see that Jake's points, and that's also it is a spot that worries me now that the ownership's going up, and Jake's made his argument. So I think that yeah, I mean, I'm playing Ray, but super confident play given his lack of efficiency and all that. One other pitcher to pivot from Bieber, who is not Kyle Gibson.
So no Gibson. I'd probably go Freeland. He's grown on me as the day has gone on. I'm not that worried about that lineup that San Francisco rolled up.
Interesting. All right. I wouldn't pivot off of Bieber at that price. I would go and pay up more or less. There's nobody around there who I was super crazy about. So that's, yeah. Chen's actually decent at Marlins Park. I wouldn't stack against him personally. I'm going with the splits, and I think the lefties thing I'm not trying to stack those guys, but righties versus Chen looks too good to completely avoid. At least in my stance, Aaron Hopkins. Gibson, Bieber, or Nova if you had the choice.
Ooh, Gibson against Bieber. I think I'd go Gibson. Nova's clear third for me there.
Yeah, I would go Bieber, and you know what? Nova, you're second. Gibson last for me. I actually have a couple of White Sox stacks and no Gibson at all. I'm not the Gibson believer that you are. Sorry.
Rain in Detroit? Yes, there's rain in Detroit. How much rain? I will check. Tigers. What's their stadium called? I don't remember. I'm so bad.
Is it a Tiger Stadium?
Comerica. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, yes.
You can check out a question while I pull this up. My internet's going slow.
I can do that. I was also trying to update the dong sheet, but yeah, my computer also running like dog shit. Same old sacrifices you make your streaming. No big deal, guys. No need to thank us for our service. Rank them: Bieber, Gibson, Wood. So everybody just wants to rank Bieber, Gibson, and someone. Still Bieber for me, but Wood's closer.
Yeah, it'd be Gibson, Bieber, Wood there, but Wood is a lot closer than Nova would be in that camp.
Just FYI, I said it about Chen. His splits home away are way different if you look past 3 years than last year. Past 3, he's not good at home. So there you go, Dylan R. I don't know. It all seems like something that'll come out in the wash to me, I think. But I don't think Chen is a good enough pitcher for there to be a drastic difference, actually. Nimmo or Dustin Fowler for you?
Nimmo or Dustin Fowler? Ooh, that's close. I think I would go with Nimmo. Nimmo against Nova, I like that matchup a ton.
Yeah, I'm with you on Nimmo as well. Let's see. Thoughts on Wheeler? The thoughts on the chalkiest pitcher on the slate? People obviously streaming in and out of this stream that we do. So I hate saying the word stream multiple times in a sentence. But let's talk about Wheeler one more time, probably 5 more times. How do you feel about Wheeler?
Yeah, I mean, he's fine. I'm worried about the ownership. So I have Pittsburgh stacks. I could see him throwing a very nice start here. He strikes out more lefties than righties, at least this year. Pittsburgh kind of rolled out what I think is a pretty good lineup against him, which I didn't expect to see. But, I think he's fine. He's just so cheap, and that run total, and I don't know. It's hard to argue against him besides the ownership, I will say.
Any Kinsler love tonight? Any Angels love in general? I guess we haven't really talked about the Angels.
We haven't really talked about the Angels, but I like Valbuena. I mean, Trout is super expensive, and he is nursing an injury. I know that. I'm not sure what the injury is, but I know he is nursing something. And Porcello's a righty, so while I think you can use him, I'm not super excited about any of the Angels besides Valbuena.
I would agree with you on that one. I'm not crazy about the A's. I'm also not crazy about Porcello. He just didn't jump out to me. I don't hate him. If it's a price, I think I have a couple of them, when he fit for me, so I don't mind him. But not a guy I was going out of my way to play for sure. How about thoughts on the Red Sox? We didn't talk much about them either, but Andrew Heaney's got some pretty noticeable splits.
Yeah, I think once again for me, and I was wrong on this last night. So if Benintendi's just gonna dong every time I trash him against the lefty, then that's just going to be how that goes, because he did it last night. He didn't dong, but he had a decent game. And Moreland hits lefties okay, but it's just hard for me to go elsewhere outside of Betts, JD, and Bogarts.
Yeah, Jackie Bradley did have his resurgent game. He's actually had 2 decent ones in a row now, I think. So maybe he's back to his old form. He's one of those guys who, I always have baffled that he grades out so well, because it's obviously looking at a bigger sample size than this year. And but Bradley has been terrible this year, but if he's turning it around, I think that could be an interesting play. But I think you can go, like a Betts, Martinez, Bogarts, Nunez. Actually, I have a weird stack with them where I kind of didn't stack closely enough. But I think the righties there would be where I would go. Heaney splits versus lefties versus righties is pretty pronounced. 43.4% hard contact versus righties versus 20% versus lefties. So that is a good reason to go with the righties there. Goldie or Matt Olson, which would you go with?
Those are my 2 favorites. I think I would go with Matt Olson, although I have them 1 and 2 in terms of how I would rank them, in terms of my exposure, all that. They're neck and neck in everything.
I think if you're a Vegas total guy, go with Olson. If you're a stat guy, go with Goldschmidt. Would be how I feel.
Oh, I love the Oakland stack too. So those are You can't go wrong there either. I think both of them hit a home run, honestly.
Ooh, okay. Lots of home run picks tonight.
Oh, I mean, Olsen's my official pick, so I'm sure Goldschmidt will double down.
Everybody's hitting home run.
Yeah.
We're like Oprah. We're giving away home runs tonight. Everybody gets one. Thoughts about Gregorius Escobar or Bogarts as a shortstop in DK? I presume is a one-off, Dan Firmer. Which would you choose, though, Jake? Or rank them.
What was the last one? Gregorius Escobar and
Bogarts.
Ooh. Escobar, Bogarts, Gregorius.
I think Bogarts, Gregorius, Escobar for me. I think Gregorius looks okay, and might have to carry some more offensive load tonight with Judge out, maybe, and Sanchez still injured as well.
Wow.
So Shane's asking our favorite cheap stack and our favorite expensive stack. I don't know what FanDuel price is, but DK, sure.
Cheap stack, I think Oakland probably qualifies as a cheap stack. Are people stacking up Seattle? Because I like them a lot against Alex Cobb. And then expensive stack? I don't know. Do you have an expensive stack you're pumped about using? Because I
have enough Boston, I guess I would say, that I enjoy the expensive pleasantries of Mookie Betts and JD Martinez and such, but it gets a little cheaper when you throw in the Sandy Leons of the world into that stack. But in terms of like a 3-man stack, the Bogarts, Betts, Martinez would be my expensive one. For cheap ones, I like the Pirates. Very cheap stack to have, and I think they have some pop, and I think people don't appreciate the Pirates quite enough. They don't strike out. They're steady little players, and if you're going against Zach Wheeler like I am tonight, go double it up and go with some Pirates.
Yeah. Jake, who you got the most at pitcher? Bieber and Gibson. Yep. Those are 2 guys from my article. I would let you know if something changed. But yeah, it's Bieber and Gibson by a pretty good margin. I have the exact same exposure
Robbie
to them.
Ray guy.
You're Robbie Ray guy.
Ride or die with Robbie.
There was another question I wanted to get to. It was a good 1v1. Rosario or Chris Davis? The Chris Davis with the K, the good one.
Oh, okay.
Who would you go?
I would probably go Chris Davis on this slate. Rosario does grade out better, but I think the stack for Oakland is better than the Twins one.
Chris Davis, I mean, that's like, it was such a good question. I had to think for myself for a while, like, what would I actually do there? And man, I think I would go with, I'd probably go with Rosario, but Davis against a fly ball righty, he hits righties very well, and Fires is the perfect type of pitcher for him, especially with that weather, man.
And you are a Minnesota Jakes guy, given that they are your team name and named for you, so you have to root for Rosario, I'm sure, to some extent.
Very true, very true.
C360 is really concerned about Kyle Seager, having asked several times. How do you feel about Kyle Seager? I think if you're stacking Seattle, he's a good part of it. He wouldn't be the one-off I would choose on that side, though.
Yeah, I like Seager a lot. Any power lefty against Cobb is always in play for me. Cobb's been better against righties, but Haniger is a guy I like, and Seager would be probably my favorite player of that stack, as well as some of the speed up top with Gordon and Segura. I think that's why people won't be on them. They don't realize that Cobb has been historically very bad at holding on runners.
Yeah, also doesn't get strikeouts, and there's a lot of reasons to go with that Seattle stack. I think the weather in that one ended up worrying me a little bit, and I just didn't play it enough, but I agree they look pretty good. A lot of different ways you can take that stack as well. I like Haniger, though, like you mentioned. Haniger a little more, or actually substantially more than Seager, but whatever. Let's split hairs. Paul Blackburn of the night for our reward for low-priced pitcher who might be dog shit, might not be. I didn't go super cheap at pitcher tonight, so I don't really have a strong opinion on that. Jake, do you have somebody you would submit for the Paul Blackburn Award for the evening?
Paul Blackburn Award. So just pitcher who sucks, or were you actually trying to
a pitcher who's cheap and probably sucks but could have a good night?
Oh, James Shields.
Could be like a Matt Harvey type as well.
James Shields. It's like, anytime he's on the slate, everybody stacks against him, and he misses bats. It's not like he can't miss bats. I don't think he's Alex Cobb with that, at least this year. So I think Shields would be my guy if I'm going ultra cheap. I don't have any exposure to him, just in full transparency, because I didn't need it. on this slate. I got the expensive bats and the mid-tier pitching that I wanted in all my lineups, but yeah, he'd be the guy if you're dumpster diving.
It would probably be Mike Minor for me, I guess. I mean, not a guy I have like maybe 1 or 2 lineups of out of 20 or so. So I don't feel fantastic about that one. I'd rather pay up tonight for a little more, at least pay up to like the Shane Bieber tier. Not crazy about that. To be clear, we're not advocating for James Shields. We're just giving what this stream does. We try to give you the thoughts on how to approach everything, because picks are picks, but how you think about the slate is what's usually going to win you money.
Yeah, and stacking against Shields has not been typically a profitable long-term strategy, at least this year. I think it's worked a couple times, and one of the times was against the Twins. So maybe people just want to ride that out and say the Twins are his kryptonite, but he has not gotten blown up as much as you would think, despite how bad he actually is.
It seems like he's been limiting hard contact a little more, so he's probably keeping the ball in the park, and that's sometimes enough. He can still look bad, but if he's keeping the ball in the park, he's not going to give up the gaudy numbers you need if you're full stacking a team.
Absolutely.
Adrianza or Ahmed for a cheap shortstop. This might be a tough choice for you, Jake. It's full on Nick Ahmed for me.
Yeah, it's Nick Ahmed. He hits lefties very well. Chen home run problems. Roof is open. I believe they're going to keep it open, right? That's a thing.
That's what it says.
80 degrees. It's Florida. It's humid. It's Ahmed batting second to Adrianza buried in the 8-hole.
Yeah, a lot of guys who can get Nick Ahmed home as well. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons to go Nick Ahmed. Better one-off, Danny Valencia or Kyle Seager?
Seager.
I'm going to go Valencia because I assume Valencia will be lower owned. Even though actually he shouldn't be, though, because the Vegas total would seem to indicate that it should be a higher ownership for the Orioles. But let's see, Valencia 11%. Seager waiting fucking forever to load. Seager, man, live stream really fucking you need a second computer to stream with while we do this. I think is how this has to be. Has to be an exhibit thing. Seager also 12%, so no help at all. All that time to get no help from our ownership. But hey, if you're a premium member of Awesemo.com, you can check this yourself instead of waiting for us to do all the work for you. Go sign up now. Don't make me work less. Blackburn had negative 19 points on DK. That wasn't the night that I picked him, though. The night that I picked him was the night that he did poorly. That was the same week that I also picked Trevor Williams. And again, Makad's a troll and doesn't pick the right name.
No, Nick Ahmed. Nick Ahmed's good.
Are you guys trolling Nick? Why would you trolling about Nick Ahmed?
I mean, I don't know, probably was a laughing stock at one point, but if you just look at his numbers against lefties, and you forget his name is Nick Ahmed, 17% K rate, 40% hard hit rate, 256 ISO, 406 WOBA, hits the ball in the air, gets on base a ton. What's not to like about Nick Ahmed batting second for 3,400?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of WRC plus 2, that cluster of Ahmed, Goldschmidt, Murphy is as high as any stack on the slate for the most part. I mean, they're all above 150 WRC plus. So Tampa Yardy, you might need to actually look up people's stats if you want to get better at this, and pick your shortstops better. Your shortstops you get better and improve. HPT picking Bassett. I don't know about Bassett for the award. It's not a negative points award. It's just a shitty pitcher who we believe can do better. I think this needs to be a renamed award, Makad. I'm not going to answer the question anymore. It's too confusing for people. Gordon, Span, and Seager, or Castellanos, Martin, and Candyman? I don't know what we're doing for Candyman.
Candelario.
Oh, okay. So Candyman is what he was going for.
So what was it? I got to scroll up quick.
Gordon, Span, Seager, or Castellanos, Martin, and Candelario.
Ooh. The Detroit guys.
Yep. I would say Detroit guys too, though I'm not crazy about Martin. That's the one guy I kind of am skipping over in the Detroit stack. Ahmed, 31% positive QOC. I'm assuming that's quality of contact. 16% worse than league average. I mean, we don't consider that a core stat. So I would say that that wouldn't affect my view on it. But Jake, do you have any thoughts on positive quality of contact numbers?
I don't use that stat. Seemed interesting. So, I mean, I don't know if it's working for you and you're successful playing DFS, then by all means. I mean, I'm not saying Nick Ahmed's like, you gotta play Nick Ahmed, but I'm just saying for the price, spot in the order, pitcher he's facing, Wei Chen allows a bunch of hard contact, a bunch of fly balls and such, and it's 80 degrees. I think there's quite a bit of reason to play Nick Ahmed.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even go to that stat. I would just go to, like, he's getting on base 382% of the time versus lefties, and his isolated power is 256. Like, I feel like a QOC stat, like, I think when you get into the advanced baseball stats, sometimes there's a bit of analysis paralysis, and for fantasy purposes, we kind of don't need to get there. We just need to look at the core stats and go from there. So that's why Nick Ahmed would be a play I'm all right with. Texas stack, any thoughts on that? Actually, you didn't mention DeShields before, and I'm surprised. I would have thought you'd be like stoked about DeShields being higher up the order.
I don't know. I mean, DeShields is fine, but the reason I like him when he's higher up in the order is because of steals. And Richard is actually, I think he's one of the best in the MLB in preventing stolen bases. Let's see, Clayton Richard. Let's see where he's at. Yeah, he's very good at preventing steals. So that's the appeal with DeShields usually for me.
Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, I mean, I still like the stack. And DeShields to me would be a part of it. I think that DeShields, Andrus, Beltre part of the stack, it would be the best part. And then from there, you can't play Profar and Andrus, so you got to choose one of those guys. But I played a little Kiner Falefa and a little bit of Ryan Rua as well, just because of the splits versus righties. And Richard is not in his sort of protective park area where he's playing at 100-degree heat. That's going to get smoked. So I'm hoping that Richard is a guy who gives up some stuff there. If taking Martin out of a Detroit stack, one-off Trumbo or D, which would you go with, Mark Trumbo or D Gordon for a one-off?
I mean, I hate taking guys like D Gordon as one-offs just because you're relying on like stolen bases or whatever. But I'd probably go D Gordon.
Yeah, I think I would also go D, but Trumbo makes sense given that team total. So I feel better about D, but I think they're both okay one-off plays if you're trying to fit a guy in there. Late to the party, who's going to be the top owned stack? I think we have it projected as being pretty close between San Diego and Minnesota. I don't know. It's hard for me to do the math off the top of my head, but pretty sure those would be big ones. Also, actually no. Is Boston pretty high up there too? At least part of it.
Oakland will be up there, I think, because of their price, run total, and because it's Mike Fiers.
Yeah, and also they had a big game yesterday too, which probably doesn't help, or doesn't hurt rather, with ownership. Doesn't hurt or help depending upon your worldview. Good luck, boys. And good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck.
Dan CD. You guys have 4 minutes left, so get your lineups in. Richard Evans asking about Zach Eflin one more time. How do we feel about him going against the weaker-looking Yankees lineup?
Yeah, I like him against that lineup. He can strike out both righties and lefties. I wasn't on him yesterday or really this morning, but as the day has gone on, like looking deeper into the numbers, I think he is a fine GPP play. I'm not going all in on him. I like some other guys that are priced around him, but I do love that range from like 7,500 to 8,500 with the Biebers and the Gibsons, so I'll have some of him as well.
Would you go D Gordon or Kettle Marte for a one-off? I mean, D Gordon as the one-off. Kettle Marte, I think, is part of the stack. I would prefer more.
Kettle Marte, actually. I like Kettle Marte against Wei Chen. We got to answer this Mad Bum question quick.
Yeah, Mad Bum, yay or nay?
For me, I guess for me it would be a nay, because I'm going to have under the field, well under the field, what we have him at. I actually like the price. Yeah, the price is so high. And he had one good start, but he didn't miss a lot of bats against San Diego. Obviously pitches much better in San Francisco because most pitchers are going to in that huge park that suppresses home runs. But he's just so expensive and going to be so chalky, and I think it's going to be a popular build with him and Wheeler, and I kind of want to stay away from that. So I am a little bit worried about his ability to miss bats these days.
I worry a little bit about the right-handed power on that side.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me, but I'm playing the Vegas odds on that one. I feel like Bumgarner, being the highest priced guy, he worked for me. I feel a little silly about it because I do think Arenado in particular might have a real tough day, or might make it a real tough day for him. But I'm still playing Bumgarner, so whatever. I might be an idiot. Alex Wood or Kyle Hendricks, and I guess just general thoughts on Alex Wood one more time.
Yeah, the split I saw was Cubs against lefties. They're awful on the road against lefties for some reason, and now you've got no Chris Bryant in the lineup, no Rizzo, which does hurt even against the lefty, and then that bottom of the lineup does not look great. So, I mean, just by default, I like Wood. I don't usually like playing him, but he's at the right price, I think, at home in that ballpark. So he's fine. I'm not crazy about him, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good kind of safe-ish play if you're trying in that price range. I'm not playing a ton of him either. I do have a little bit, but I'm not not crazy about him. And I could see why, though, the bottom of the Cubs order might make me a little more bullish. He's a safe play, though. I think he's a guy who's going to get you that 15 to 25 range that you need to be competitive in a GPP if you have a nice low-owned stack somewhere. So I'm right with him in that perspective. I guess let's talk late slate real fast because people asked a few questions about that before. How would you approach that? Who would you play?
So the late slate includes the Cubs Dodgers, right? And
there's just the 2 West Coast games.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, I mean, I think Bumgarner makes for a very interesting fade on that slate, just because he's going to be so highly owned. I would try to get Freeland in there, and the 2-game slate. That's where Jake Gonzalez one off. What? Oh, Cargo. Oh, he's in the lineup. Oh, I see. Lefty against Bumgarner. Bumgarner is very good against lefties. I don't know if he has some BVP or whatever, but I don't like Cargo. I like Desmond. I like Story and Arenado, and even LeMahieu a little bit against Bumgarner. So I think it makes sense to maybe do a little mini stack against Bumgarner because his ownership will be so high. And I like the Freeland Wood pairing on that slate. And also, guys, we do have ownership projections and rankings for the late slates. So you should check those out if you are a premium subscriber and you like playing those late slates for whatever reason, if it works with your job or whatever. I think we are the only site that does it for the late slates.
Yeah, and also our senior management folks, Tom J.K., people mentioned before, is our COO, Tom. And I think our guy Eddie has also won some of those recently, and they tend to do really well. So that is a place to get good data if you want to be a premium member. Tom actually thinks that's like his favorite thing to play is like the late slates and the shortened slates in every sport. He's actually mentioned that a couple times.
Because he's able to manipulate ownership so much. The ownership's so concentrated, and he is a very level-headed guy and very smart at MME. So those slates, it makes sense because there's a lot of casuals playing, and maybe people that are just throwing in lineups after work and not doing much research. So that makes sense.
Sure. Dylan R said something nice. Thanks, Dylan R. We appreciate everybody who comes in the stream and says nice things and doesn't just ask us questions over and over again like zoo animals. So we appreciate you. Even if you do, we still appreciate you. But either way, if you're not a premium member of Awesemo.com, you should do that now. It is a helpful thing if you are a person who watches the stream regularly. All the things that take us forever to load and pull up while we're doing the stream, available for you to look at and then ask questions of us right straight away. So go ahead, sign up now at Awesemo.com, join. It'll help your game. We do personally believe that. Jake, any final thoughts on anything? Any particular worries you have tonight? Anything you fucked up?
No, I think I feel pretty good about it. I love Bieber, I love Gibson, hoping they do well and that you guys win some money. Also, the MLB strategy video tomorrow morning that will be live with Josh and I. It'll start later than usual, around 10:30 Eastern. So I just wanted to mention that before you guys all leave the stream and make your money, hopefully.
Yep, so subscribe now so you get a notification then when Josh and Jake go live, and when we go live every day. We'll have the Chubster back tomorrow, I presume, at 6 o'clock. We'll have, I think, Alex on Friday. So unfortunately, no baseball savants on these live streams, so you'll have to get your fix in the morning for Jake's wisdom. He is the baseball savant for a reason, so go tune into that tomorrow morning. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.